Oh my gosh. Retard alert. Oh, I can't hear you, Barry.
I had to play the warning because we're going to go someplace, not the retard alert.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be talking for a little bit about some of the Jewish people. And I know once we start talking about the Jews, all the nuts come out. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave SV and Roaring Rage and Severo and Beth a little bit of a warning before we start talking about this. All right, because it might freak some people out, and there was a big bunch of crap that was talking about whether Netanyahu was alive. Let's end that craziness right now.
תודה. מה שאלת אותי?
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל מת?
אני מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני מת על העם שלי. איך הם מתנהגים, פנטסטי. אתה רוצה לספור את מספר אצבעות?
אתה יכול להראות לנו?
פה. פה. ראית?
יפה מאוד.
לחיים.
ראש הממשלה מסר לאנשים שיוצאים ומתאווררים?
לצאת להתאוורר, אבל ליד מרחב מוגן. והעמידה שלכם היא מדהימה, נותנת כוח לי, לממשלה, לצה"ל, למוסד. אנחנו עושים דברים שאני לא יכול לשתף ברגע זה, אבל עושים דברים מכים באיראן חזק מאוד, גם ביום הזה, גם בלבנון, ממשיכים. אתם אומרים לי להמשיך? אני אומר לכולכם, גם אתם תמשיכו. תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, כל הזמן, להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, וגם לראשי הערים, להיות תמיד ליד מרחב מוגן. ואנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן. ותודה לך על הקפה, הוא מצוין. אני לא יודע לגבי הקלוריות, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד. פה עם שיר ושיר. איזה יופי פה.
תודה רבה.
תודה,
איזה
תודה לכם.
אלופים, תודה רבה.
תודה לכם. טוב, קצת לספוג שמש. שלום לכם. של מי הכלב? שלך. איזה סוג זה?
כנענית, ישראלית.
כנענית ישראלית, כל הכבוד. טוב, גם לא מגיע קצת.
ישראלית אמיתית.
יאללה, לכולכם מגיע. כן, כן. יצאתם להתעורר קצת?
כן.
יפה מאוד. תראה, על ירושלים, יש משהו יותר יפה מזה?
אין על ירושלים.
אין על ירושלים, אין, נהדר.
הוא השתגע מזה.
תשמע, אני זוכר את זה.
אתה זוכר? קוראים לו גיא.
זה היה במטוס, אוקיי, תמסרו לו דש. תודה. איזה יופי. שלום. שלום לכם. גם אתם יצאתם קצת להתעורר?
קצת להתעורר. כמובן שיש מרחב מוגן במקום כזה.
מרחב מוגן, איפה את יודעת?
ממש שמה, בטח. א' ב' זה לבדוק.
כמה צעדים מכאן, נכון?
כמה צעדים.
יופי, זה הכי חשוב.
צה"ל ינצח ואנחנו נשמור על עצמנו.
מצוין, זה בדיוק.
חד משמעי.
את אמרת הכי טוב. הציבור מבין את העניין. אבל הנה הפרט הכי חשוב. איך קוראים לך?
שיר.
מה ששיר אמרה, ואת?
שיר גם.
יש לנו שני שירים כאן. מה ששיר ושיר אמרו זה הדבר המרכזי. צריך להבין, זה דורש אורך רוח, אבל זה גם אפשר לפעמים לצאת לרוח, להתאוורר, אבל תמיד להיות ליד מרחב מוגן, וגם פה יש.
You see, you may not understand what he was saying. You may not have understood what the young women were saying. But you understand that there was a walking, talking, breathing, live person. At least those of you who have, brains about you, have functioning frontal lobes, which is not to be said for everybody online. And is not to be said by even some people who supposedly are on the right. And even worse than people who consider themselves MAGA. We have gone to the twilight zone here, the absolute twilight zone, to the point where President Trump took upon himself to talk about a friend of his because he's getting bashed by people on the right. President Trump posted this, when was this? This was yesterday at 10:30 at night. Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is somewhat under siege, say the least, by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. Mark is tough, strong, and brilliant, hence the nickname the Great One. conceived by our MAGA friend, the wonderful Sean Hannity. After years of dealing with Mark in legal, media, and other capacities, Mark would often do Sean's show speaking as a lawyer, and Sean realized then, as did others, that he was special. Mark Levin was not looking to do television, radio, or anything else. He was a constitutional lawyer, FYI. But he was drafted by very smart people who understood that there are few like him. He is a true conservative and intellect, far smarter than those who criticize him. But above all, he is a man of great wisdom and common sense who truly loves our country. When you hear others unfairly attack Mark, remember that they are jealous and angry human beings whose sway, in quotations, is much less than the public understands and will, now that they know where I stand, rapidly diminish. Other than for his wonderful wife and family, Mark Levin only cares and wants one thing: greatness and success for America. Those that speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside, as do the people whose ideas, policies, and footings are not sound. They are not MAGA. I am. And MAGA includes not allowing Iran, a sick, demented, and violent terrorist regime, to ever have a nuclear weapon to blow up the United States of America, the Middle East, and ultimately the rest of the world. MAGA is about stopping them cold, and that is exactly what we are doing. God bless our great military, which I have rebuilt since the beginning of my first term, to achieve everlasting peace through strength. Make America great again, and thank you for your attention to this matter. Why is this important? To me, it's important because, just like many of you, you've seen this ongoing fracturing, this ongoing malaise that is happening, not on the left, but on our side of the aisle. People have completely lost it. And I'm not one to name names because it's not important. What's important is it has to stop. I don't know why people are doing what they're doing, and I really don't care. It is incumbent upon me to let you guys know my foundation is obviously with the Lord, and I support Donald Trump. Period. Full stop. Political. That's it. And I see these people with talk shows and large podcasts, and just, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. There's no doubt about that. But at least try to ground it in fact and not be as bad racially as some other people you choose to say they are. I posted this as my thumbnail because I think we truly are in an era of March Madness. Do I know if Tucker Carlson is a traitor? Do I know if Tucker Carlson gave information to the Iranians? Do I know if President Trump played him and got him to give information to the Iranians? The answer to that question, for every single one of those questions, is no. I have no idea. So in that regard, I cannot cast aspersions on Tucker Carlson. If the powers that be end up finding that he did do that, well, then he's going to get dealt with, probably pretty severely. But when you see people online talking about Israel and Tucker and every opinion that they have no substantiation whatsoever about, you have to begin to turn your head and go, what the hell is going on? Why are these people doing this? What is their end game? I said I would name names, but I got to show you this. Did the Israeli government assassinate Benjamin Netanyahu with a plan to blame Iran? It was Benjamin Netanyahu killed by an Iranian ballistic missile strike. In the report below, I break down the facts and examine the fortress of Zion, as well as reports that the Netanyahu video is AI. Bull crap. Absolute unadulterated bullcrap. And if you are one who follows this crap, then this might not be the podcast for you ever. If you can't see in your heart of hearts that you're being led down a path that is not right, I can't help you and I can't really speak to you. You want to listen to that? Go ahead. And the other ones as well. You know who they are. You know what they say. I'm just asking questions. I didn't say he was. I didn't say, I just have some facts here that I'm going to give you. You don't know shit. The one thing that you guys can feel confident about the Trump administration is none of these people, Zippo, none have sources. None of them told you in advance that they were going to take Maduro out of Venezuela. None of them told you in advance that President Trump was going to strike Iran, not once, the one in June or this time. None of them told you that in advance. None of them told you in advance that they were probably going to take over Cuba. Not a single one of them. They're all full of crap. The only person who's actually telling you what is happening, and sometimes you can't even believe him because there's probably a good amount of head fakery happening. And that's with President Trump because what he's doing right now. So you don't know, they don't know, I don't know. The essence of reporting is to see what actually happens and then report it. Not say you've got some inside information. Did anybody say anywhere that Susie Wiles had breast cancer this morning? No, nobody, none of the sources, no. But now everybody's going to have an opinion. It is absolutely awful. I can't put it into words that well in terms of how badly these people are sucking off the teat of X to try and draw monetization in because they can see it drying up. You know, at this point, I'm going to tell you, it's 2026, it's March. I won't say fully convinced, but I'm 90% convinced that 2019, I want you to dial back in your minds. I want you to think of something where you were in 2019 before the whole maskademic happened. Because 2019, as of this point, seems to be the last normal year we will ever experience. And I don't mean normal in the sense of it was perfect, everything was great. No, it wasn't. I don't mean normal in the sense of nobody had any problems, nobody had any debt. No, we had problems, people had debt. But normal in the sense that there was, still some kind of shared reality. It got severed when the maskademic happened because reality was completely obliterated. What in the hell are they talking? 6 feet, got to pull your food down. You can drink in a restaurant. You can't go surfing in an ocean because, I don't know, something, even if you're by yourself, they might jump into you. They destroyed reality. We lost our baseline. We lost everything we knew was firm. Okay, I'm good. I'm good right here. Here are the things I believe and know, and here's the things I can look up. And that was taken away from us. We were living in a world that, despite having all of its flaws, still felt like it operated according to recognizable rules, things we grew up with, things we could take for granted. And like, yeah, a boy's a boy, a girl's a girl. And, there's no such thing as lopping your junk off and changing it and becoming Dylan. No, we didn't have any of that. And ever since 2019, the world we knew in 2019 is gone. Ever since everything happened in 2020, something fundamental in America has shifted. Maybe some people in other parts of the world feel it. Most people feel it, even if they can't name it. As I'm saying this, some of you guys are, yeah, things were a little bit different back then. now you have like this, gut wrenching, persistent anxiety that never quite goes away. It's a sense that time is both moving fluidly, fast, and strangely out of sequence. Nothing seems to make any sense anymore. We got people just making shit up. We got people saying a woman whose husband had his head blown off was working with Epstein. We are experiencing a feeling that nothing quite is the way it used to be, the way we used to experience it, the connections in our own lives. Even there were some people we trusted on television. We used to go to the movies and have fun. Now we hold the Oscars and we're like, wasn't the Oscars supposed to be to promote a movie that people liked and get an award and you'd get more people to go see it? The Oscars comes on and it's a political hate fest and nobody wants to see the movies that they actually promote. I didn't even hear. I don't even know what the hell these movies are. Never mind want to go see them. I'm like, well, no, you don't want me. You hate me. I definitely ain't giving you money. When was that happening? I can tell you, it didn't happen before. I didn't know Robert De Niro hated me. I love The Godfather. I love all those movies, Casino and all those kind of mob type movies. I loved them. I didn't know he hated my guts. I don't think he knew. You listen to recording artists and music artists, you didn't know they hated your guts. It didn't matter because nobody just, hey, sing your damn song and shut up. I was heartbroken when I heard all the crap from Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, no, it's not. I no longer like Born to Run. I was like, I'm born to run away from you. The Dixie Chicks completely exploded. They just became the Chicks. Lady Antebellum just became Antebellum or whatever their name is, Lady A or something. Things turned upside down. Even ordinary moments feel slightly hollow, slightly off, like a frequency you turn on a radio and you only hear a little bit of static. Everyone, and I see this all the time, everyone is exhausted. How many times you go to a mall or something and just see people, they're over it. Everyone is overwhelmed, and yet nothing seems to slow down long enough for you to make sense of it. The anchors you had in your life, many people, are gone. The institutions we were raised to trust have revealed themselves to be batshit crazy. The social fabric that held communities together was deliberately stretched beyond its ability to be tangible and in many places snapped entirely. And then you get to your relationships that you had for years. Strong relationships. Hey, come on over. Yeah, let's hang out. Want to watch some football? Sure. Hey, Robin, what's your friend do? Oh, she's coming over. And they didn't last. They completely got, you're one of those red hat wearing nuts. But you're my friend. You know me. I didn't change. You didn't change. Somebody's making you change. And then, of course, now we've got 5 or 6 years of silence from people that we used to be close with. And that silence, that void, unless you go to church and you pray or you've embraced the people around you, hasn't been filled. I mean, be honest. How many times do you think, yeah, man, I wonder what he's doing. I wonder what she's doing. Man, it would be nice. I remember when and now all it is a memory. The person doesn't want it. They see you on caller ID. Hell no, he's one of those maggots. It's happened. And underneath all of that, something that doesn't get spoken of enough is the anger, the grief for the world that used to be, for the innocence of not knowing what we now know, for the relationships that were lost, not to death, not to somebody moving across the world, but to a political ideology that they could no longer even talk to you. How the hell did that happen? How did it get to the point where you like red? Yeah, I like blue. All right, well, buy a blue shirt. I don't give a shit. Now it's like, you like Trump? Yeah. Rip up everything. Never call me again. It's unreal. Absolutely unreal. For the version of the future we thought we were building together as friends and interpersonal relationships, that has quietly been replaced with something none of us have voted for. Forget vote. None of us wants. And many of us don't want it to change. Many of us, those relationships are gone. You know, as a Christian, we think about forgiveness at this point. And I wonder how many people were willing to forgive the people who looked the other way when you needed them. When you wanted to confide in somebody, I'm like, come here. Yeah, can't call him. 2019, if you're listening to what I'm saying, if you're truly understanding what I'm saying, 2019 was the last year most people in the United States, maybe even in the world, lived without the constant sense that the ground beneath them was shifting without warning. And now here we are. Here we are living in the aftermath of something enormous, and we are being asked to pretend that everything's fine. This is normal. What? And I'm not even talking war. We've had wars. I'm not talking about that. People are asking us to pretend that this is the new normal. Hate that person. Now, I don't just not disagree. Hate that person because they vote for Trump. Hate that person if you don't understand that, what a woman is, even though they can't tell you. Hate that person if you don't accept. No longer like you just have to tolerate. You need to accept and embrace the fact that I'm so much different that I need to change your ideology. You just can't say, okay, so you're gay. No, that's not good enough. You need to embrace it. I need to ram this flag on your front yard, and you got to wear the ribbon. We are being, I wouldn't even say being asked anymore. We are being demanded to accept that which we are not. I think it's, at this point, irrevocably lost. So maybe you should be allowed to grieve for what was lost. And you're allowed to say that the world as it was is gone, because it is. Look around. It's probably going to freak you out. And before I stop talking on my little rant here, let me just tell you something else that's probably going to freak a bunch of you out. What you're seeing is what you voted for. When I see all the splintering in social media, I'm reminded, and I do I have my little button here? Where is it? Yeah, I have my button here. Listen to what your president said and then apply it to everything you're seeing right now. Here we go.
When I get back into the Oval Office, I will totally obliterate the deep state. They will be obliterated.
When you hear that and you understand what he said, understand USAID. That's when it first started, when we started talking about Wally's Nigerian, and everything since then, including up to what we're seeing on television right now with the war. It's the obliteration of the deep state. What you didn't know is how many of the people you followed and listened to were a part of that deep state. See, now if you step back and go, what are you guys all pissed off at? And then you think to yourself, what has happened? It's still him. What has changed in their lives? Well, if this stuff about Tucker is true, well, it's obliterating the deep state. If some of these other podcasters is true and they're losing money because the deep state is being obliterated. Obviously, that's what the Democrats are afraid of. That's what John Thune might be afraid of. when we voted for that obliteration, I don't think enough people knew where that hand grenade was going to get rolled into. Oh, you're going to take care of the Democrats and their oh, you're going to do that too? Oh, okay. So we're safe now. He's not taking away. Oh, he's taking away that too? Don't think some of these people didn't feel a pinch in their butt as he started cutting off certain things. I'm not accusing anybody of having their hand in any specific cookie jar, but it makes sense what happened. And now I'm going to drop my last bit of Barry insanity on you. And I'm sick of hearing this. Everybody keeps talking about, we're going to lose the midterms. We're going to lose the midterms. Oh my God, the midterms. Oh, it looks like the Democrats are going to take control of the midterms. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to be completely honest. If your son, your daughter, if you're in a bowling league, do you want somebody to cheat so you can win? Think hard before you answer that. Do you just want to win? And you will train. My grandson's playing football. You're going to lose some games, but you want to get as strong and fast and efficient as possible, but you still could lose. You still could lose. That's how life was in 2019. It's been how life has always been. You could lose. What if obliterating the deep state was just to get the playing field level? Think about that. What if it has nothing to do with the midterms? Yeah, I'm not here to make you win the midterms. What if President Trump isn't here to facilitate the winning of the midterm? He's not running. What if he just said, you know what? My job as president is to eliminate the cheating, go ahead and force voter ID, make sure illegals aren't voting, and let's all be on the same plane and see how the chips fall. If you want something, stand up for it. People have emailed me, the Boca mayor, Democrat, lost by 5 votes. I'm like, okay, doesn't change my life. Many people don't know what the Boca mayor can even do besides kiss babies and cut ribbons. But was it a fair election? We'll see. I'm sure Ron DeSantis and those guys are looking at it. But come November, there's no promise that the Republicans will carry the midterm. And I don't want that promise from Donald Trump. As a former athlete and as a man, I don't need you to push the envelope or put your finger on the scale. Make sure it's level. Make sure everybody can do what they need to do so that we'll take care of that. How many of you have thought that? Let me obliterate the deep state so we can make it fair. And if we lose, guess what? Suck it up. You lost. If we win, y'all suck it up. We won, but at least it's fair. I don't feel like we should be saying that he's going to make us lose the midterms because it's up to us. We need to do that. We need to get out there and make things happen. And I've said this all along about financial moves. All I want my president to do is get the government out of my way. I will run at that point. I will buy houses. I will sell houses. I will start businesses. Just get out of my way. How many of you are prepared for the election just to be fair? And if it's fair, accept the loss and celebrate the win because it's fair. That's what I want my president to do. Obliterate the deep state, make the ground stable under our feet again, and then we make it happen. That's what I want for my president. That's what I would hope that he would do. I'm going to take a quick break and then I'll continue before he comes out. Let me just make sure he hasn't walked out yet. Like, I didn't even look down. It's already 3:30. Let me see if they got the camera on. As of right now, the camera isn't on, and I can't wait to see some of your comments from that, because it's one of those things where I wonder how many people really. I know many of you feel the same way in terms of how things have shifted underneath you. I just don't know how many people at this point get it and what they want to do. All right, let me check something here, and here we go. Yeah, this was for Lear Capital. Let me read this real quick, and then we'll go to a break. All right, everybody. As you know, the markets have been crazy. We talked about that earlier this morning. So if you bought some gold and silver, you shouldn't be freaking out. Now you see a lot of what's happening. Hold or not. Accelerate. There are some people I know who are stocking up because they understand what's going to happen when this is over. They are trying everything they can do to suppress the market. Not sure if you saw this, but I showed earlier how, it just looks like a bad arrhythmia on a heart scale in terms of where things are. The days of excessive money printing, overvalued markets, and global unrest are finally catching up to the elite. A lot of stuff is catching up to the elite. Instead of pulling back, now is the time to do your research, keep your eyes open to trends, and get yourself some information. You can get it from my friends here at Lear Capital. Experts are still predicting $6,000 gold and $150 to $200 silver. Everything you're seeing is being driven by geopolitical uncertainty, i.e. emotion, inflation concerns, and a perceived weakening of the U.S. dollar. Is it time for you to buy some gold or silver? Well, that's a decision you're going to have to make. But if you call Lear Capital, they'll help you by getting the most accurate information you'll need to make an informed decision. Call the best in the business and the company Robin and I personally trust and do business with. Not some paper, the actual thing itself. I've got at this office, here's a piece of gold right there. You understand this little piece of gold right here is almost little over $1,000, and we got it for I'll tell you what we got it for. Call Lear Capital. It's a free call. There's no obligation to purchase, just education and information on protecting and growing your wealth with gold and silver. I'm sure there are many of you that have called and maybe even thought about doing something, but you haven't purchased yet for whatever reason. They'll even walk you through shifting some of your money sitting in a retirement account over to physical gold and silver. It's easy to do. I've been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, service, and prices. I urge you to call today and learn more. 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com to learn more. And remember, if you go to learberry.com, it's cheaper than in terms of the minimum, instead of having to talk to one of the brokers. All right, so we're going to get the party started. Then I'm going to come back and talk to SV.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Por si acaso no regreso, yo me llevo tu bandera, lamentando que mis ojos liberada no te vieran. Porque tuve que marcharme, todos pueden comprender. Pensé que
One man is big.
Oops, sorry, wrong button. What you're watching as I'm watching SV dance in the board here, this is Cuba in 1957. Yeah.
en cualquier momento a tu suelo iba a volver. Pero el tiempo va pasando y tu sol sigue llorando. Las cadenas siguen atando, pero yo sigo esperando y al cielo rezando. Y siempre me sentí dichosa de haber nacido entre tus brazos. Y aunque ya no esté de mi corazón.
SB was down there doing the tango or the bossa nova or something while that was playing. Tell me what's going on in Cuba.
Oh, I love it. Free Cuba, man. I'm digging it. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. They had I just read a short while ago, they had a complete power failure. So it looks like things are getting a little dire, and I'm sure Rubio is on his way there to, talk. That's what I'm hearing.
12 million people in complete darkness. And it's funny, the mainstream media is covering it now, but what they aren't saying is that they've pretty much been in complete darkness for 8 or 9 days. So, I mean, they're in dire needs. They got no gas, they got no food. And when you look at these old videos of what Havana and what Cuba used to look like, it's absolutely crazy compared to what it looks like now. And so I'm very interested in seeing how the media is going to cover Cuba. Because by covering Cuba, they're going to blow the Squad and Mondami and Bernie Sanders out of the water. In fact, it's so bad. I don't know if you've seen this. Maybe you can look it up, SV, is that the Democrat Socialists of America, get this, the Democrat Socialists of America are flying into Havana to tell the Cuban people to hold the line. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
All right, you look that up. We'll come back to it. The Democrat Socialists of America are going down into Havana, telling people who've got no food, nothing, living on gruel, that they're going to come in and help them hold the line. What? That's how bad it is. By the way, I don't even know what the hell this means. This comment here. What's this? Trump posted about Susie. Check your facts. What facts did I miss about Susie Wiles? I'm pretty sure we covered that pretty earlier, didn't we? Talk about her breast cancer diagnosis. So somebody, what's this person's name? Teresa. Oh, wait a minute. You're Teresa Rasmussen. Could that be
Mark? Oh boy!
I just have to look down. Rasmussen. Somebody. There's somebody trolling in here who's not supposed to. So what did you find out about that socialist stuff?
Grok came back very quickly. It said the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, commonly referred to as Democratic Socialists of America, they were in some discussions. They're organizing a trip to Cuba. Specifically, 20 DSA members are joining the Nuestra America convoy set to depart around March 21st.
Why? It's got to get better. It hasn't worked for 68 years, but we'll help you, okay? Well, our buddy Mondami is going to steal as much money from Americans so we can help you live for a couple days. it's crazy. All right, I'll be back to you.
All right, thank you, Barry.
Man. But yeah, that was what Cuba looked like in 1957, right before Castro took over. If you haven't seen movies and seen what, Ricky Ricardo and what Cuba looked like, and now it's a complete asshole, as President Trump would call it. I wanted to show you something. It's a pretty long post, so I won't go through it, but this is something that Matt Van Swole put up, something you guys might want to go take a look at. It's very, very long. It says the right has a podcast problem and it might cost us an election. He goes, nobody asked for this. We witnessed one of the greatest political comebacks of all time. We won the presidency. We won the Senate. We won the House. We won demographics nobody thought were possible. We won in places nobody thought were winnable. And then somehow the most influential voices on our side have decided that the most important thing to do with that historic mandate was to tear each other apart. Right now, as you read this, the Democrats are doing exactly what they always do after they lose. The problem we're having is, obviously, you guys can go ahead and read this, is that there's people on the right who just have lost their mind. But the good thing about it is more and more people are catching up to it. This was John Rich, the singer, what he had to say. It's pathetic to see social media experts scream at each other all day long, every day, about literally every major subject going on in the world when they don't know any more than you or I do. I guess it's true. If you don't have anything good to say it on X. I love that play right there. I don't get it. I don't care to get it. If you want to wallow in, with the pigsty, with people just making up stuff, I mean, some of the stuff that I see them post is absolute insanity. And I don't know. I guess they've chosen sides or whatever, and that's just where it's going to be. So let me get on with the show here, because I got a whole lot to cover before President Trump comes out. They're talking about the power outages across Cuba as well. All right, let me get going.
Here's an update on Operation Epic Fury.
Hi, I'm Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, here to provide another update on Operation Epic Fury. First, I want to remember and honor our fallen warriors who made the ultimate sacrifice in the KC-135 refueling aircraft incident last week. We hold their memories and their families, their friends and their teammates in our prayers. Their selfless service and dedication hardens our resolve. For 16 days, we've delivered overwhelming firepower deep into Iran. This past Friday, U.S. forces executed a large-scale precision strike on Karg Island, destroying more than 90 Iranian military targets, including storage bunkers for naval mines and missiles and other military infrastructure. To date, our Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps aviators have collectively flown more than 6,000 combat flights, demonstrating the unmatched capability of America's joint force as we maintain air superiority over Iranian skies. We continue to remain centered on our military objectives. These are well-defined and include eliminating Iran's ballistic missiles, drones, and naval threats. It's one thing to defend by striking launchers and intercepting missiles and drones, but it's another thing to eliminate the wider manufacturing apparatus behind them. And we are doing that today. We've talked about it in concept. Here's what it looks like in reality. Let me show you, for the first time, a few examples of how we are dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent threats to the region into the future. Here you see a photo from March 1st of a naval drone storage facility located near the Strait of Hormuz. This is the same location 8 days later, completely destroyed. Next, here's a photo taken of an attack drone production factory in Tehran on March 5th. Here's that same factory 6 days later after a devastating barrage of U.S. airstrikes. And finally, the Yazdi military depot, pictured here last month. These 8 buildings are part of the IRGC's missile command infrastructure and are used to produce light and heavyweight torpedoes. Now, here's that same military depot just last week, or what's left of it. U.S. and partner strikes are doing exactly what they are intended to do, deliver on very clear military objectives to eliminate Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors. We're also zeroed in on dismantling Iran's decades-old threat to the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz. Through a combination of air, land, and maritime capabilities, we have successfully destroyed over 100 Iranian naval vessels, and we aren't done. We will continue to rapidly deplete Iran's ability to threaten freedom of navigation in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Our progress remains steady, and we remain vigilant against the enemy. Now, a few thoughts about Iran. Over the last 2 weeks, they have launched attacks on Oman, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, Cyprus, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Iraq, Kuwait, and Bahrain. In each of these countries, they are deliberately attacking innocent civilians. They've done this more than 300 times, which demonstrates their true nature as a global leader of terror. In just the last few days, the Iranian regime launched a reckless attack against civilian neighborhoods in Tel Aviv with cluster bombs, an inherently indiscriminate type of munition. We join countries across the region in condemning this aggression, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners in bolstering our own defenses. In sum, I will reinforce what I've said before. Iran's capabilities are declining as our capabilities and advantages continue to build. And finally, I'd like to talk about the extraordinary 50,000 Americans who are deployed across the region executing this vital mission. It's long been my belief that every success we have begins and ends with our people. And today I'd like to recognize our unsung heroes, the sustainers enabling America's joint force to unleash this devastating firepower 24/7. To be clear, there's no other military on earth that does logistics like the U.S. military, and our team is at the top of their game today. They're managing distribution networks that span thousands of miles to ensure that munitions, fuel, and supplies reach warfighters on the front line on time, every time. To all our sustainers and logisticians, thank you and keep up the great work. And to the entire Operation Epic Fury team, keep pushing, remain steady, fight to win. Thanks so much and Godspeed.
You know, when that whole thing blew up last week about the soldiers and military people getting lobster and steak, I don't think enough people understand what these guys do, because a lot of what they do is in secret, and the danger that they're. Can you just imagine the stress of every day wondering what may happen? And they're out there doing this for us, and they get one big luxury meal. You get some lobster and crab legs and some steak instead of this packet full of Chef Boyardee. And people were demonistically, I would say, demonically begrudging the men and women in our military from having a sit-down great meal. Shame on them. Absolutely shame on them. I wish they could have that more. I wish we could give it to them 2 or 3 times a week. These people are out there in harm's way, and you're begrudging them having steak and lobster. Well, you're having steak and lobster. See, that's the worst part about it, is every single one of those Democratic congressmen are going to some fancy restaurant in Washington, D.C. and saying, you shouldn't have it. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Hello, everybody. So we have a lot of things to talk about, but there's not much I can say to you about them. So one of those little...
All right, so this is President last night coming back from Palm Beach. He left Mar-a-Lago and landed, or was traveling to Washington, D.C., and this was the gaggle. And we'll stop and listen to some of this stuff.
In life, we had some very good results today, as you probably heard, in Iran. Very strong results, militarily results. We're talking to countries about policing the straits, because they are the ones, we don't get oil, very little, 1%, 2%. China, as an example, gets about 90% of its oil from the Hormuz Strait. And nice to have other countries police that with us. And we'll help, we'll work with them. Militarily, as far as I'm concerned, we've essentially defeated Iran. I guess they can have a little bit of fight back, but not much. Not much. We've taken out their air forces, we've taken out their navy. We've taken out their air defense. There's no air defense whatsoever. We've taken out their leadership times 2 or 3. Might be 3. We'll find out soon. But militarily, it's been amazing. We attacked Karg Island, and we left just the one little area standing, and the standing part is where they have the pipes, all the oil pipes come in. And we can do that on 5 minutes notice. We have it all locked and loaded and ready to go if we want to do it. But we chose not to do it. I chose not to do it yet. We'll see what happens. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. I don't think they're ready. Just on what I'm hearing, they want to negotiate badly, as they should. But I don't think they're ready to do what they have to do. But I think they will be ready at some point. But we're doing very well with respect to that whole situation in Iran. We are talking to other countries about working with us on the policing of the strait. And I think we're getting good response. If we do, that's great. And if we don't, that's great too. But remember, like as an example, in many cases, they're NATO countries. We're always there for NATO. We're helping them with Ukraine. It's got an ocean in between us. Doesn't affect us, but we've helped them. It'd be interesting to see what country wouldn't help us with a very small endeavor, which is just keeping the strait open. That, by comparison, is a small. It's small because Iran has very little firepower left. Their missiles are down to a low number. You see, they're shooting very few of them. You know why? Because they don't have very many of them. And because we've decimated their manufacturing capability. Likewise, the drones are way down. They're down to about 20% of what they had. Still have some. And they're pretty tough. But the drones are down, and we're starting hitting, as of yesterday, we're hitting places where they manufacture the drones. We think most of which we know where they are. So it's a very strong military operation, just as it was in Venezuela. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world by far, not even a contest. And I think people understand that. And we will finish the job.
Mr. President, which countries have said that they will help with?
Well, I can't say yet. It's a little early. They were contacted today and last night. But we've had some positive response. We had a few that would rather not get involved.
Is China one of them?
I don't want to tell you about that. I mean, I can't really say for sure, but China's an interesting case study. They get most of their oil, as you know, by far. They get a lot, about 90% from the strait. So I've said, would you like to come in? And we'll find out. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. There's some other deeper reasons why they may not. They should come in my opinion. It never made sense for years. If you go back and look at what I've said years ago, I said, why are we maintaining the Hormuz Strait when it's really there for China and many other countries? Why aren't they doing it? And that's because we had weak leadership, to be honest with you. But I'm bringing it up now because I think even long term, I think it's something that other countries should help us with.
How many other countries, Mr. President?
And again, remember, there's about 7. We're talking about 7.
See, I don't know. I hope you guys could hear that question that he posed, which is a question that the media should be asking. Why are we the ones that have to secure this and help you get your prosperity to your country when we don't get that much oil from Iran, if any? But you get 70, 80, 90% of the oil. It seems as though you should already had a ship there. You should have been head over. Yeah, we're coming over right now to make sure this entire area is secure. It should tell you something. Should tell you something about China and some of these other countries that are being, standoffish, because the Biden administration didn't want to do anything. If this thing has been going on, as we know, as long as I live, these people wanted to kill us. And I have a clip that I saved. I have it ready for tomorrow, where Jennifer Granholm, who was Biden's energy secretary, she was laughing, saying we're going to be buying more oil from Iran. So if you, again, people aren't learning in their textbooks that we have all the oil we need. Why were we buying it from Venezuela and Iran? Because it was a way for them to steal your money. We had no idea what we were being charged and where the money was going because we needed oil instead of just taking it from ourselves. The underlying theme of this whole thing is that, as I mentioned this morning, the whole Green New Deal has been exposed as being completely trash.
Just remember that it's something that we don't need, and these countries do need. And yet for years, it's like, for years we've been maintaining it, doing a great job. And now that the war is, now that they've been diminished in terms of military, their military has been greatly diminished. I think it's a good thing for other countries to come in. Now, it would have been nice, as I said to the Prime Minister of the UK, who sort of was reluctant to put his 2 aircraft carriers into harm's way. That would be 2 weeks ago. And as soon as we demolished, essentially pretty much demolished them, not over yet, but pretty much we're in great shape. Let's put it that way, as everybody knows. He said, we'd like to send our aircraft carriers. I said, I don't want them after we win the war. I want them before we start the war. So whether it's, whether we get support or not, but I can say this, and I said it to them, we will remember.
How soon, sir, would this begin?
Well, it start immediately, but it will take a little time to get here. Some of the countries have minesweepers, that's good. Some of the countries have a certain type of boat that could help us. Some of the countries would be a little helpful. Remember, it only takes a couple of people to screw up the strait, a couple of terrorists. You don't need, their military is defeated, but all you need is a few people dropping mines here and there, and you louse it up. So we need, I'm demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory, because it is their territory. It's the place from which they get their energy, and they should come and they should help us protect it. You could make the case that maybe we shouldn't even be there at all, because we don't need it. We have a lot of oil. We're the #1 producer anywhere in the world times 2, by double, at least double. Now I think it's much higher than that.
Did you know that? He has mentioned that a few times, and the media never talks about it, that we are the #1 producer of oil in the world, using his own words, by twice as much, possibly 3 times as much as anywhere else in the world. How the hell can our gas prices be that high? Well, when you dig in, you find out everything the Democrats did to make sure that we couldn't get gas to the pumps quickly. How they shut down refineries, how they did all kinds of things to make the permitting process so hard in order for us to pump and drill and get the oil to the shore. We got plenty of it. They're not telling people that, because they wanted to do this Green New scam.
But we do it. It's almost like we do it for habit. But we also do it for some very good allies that we have in the Middle East.
Sir, you mentioned that Iran wants to make a deal. However, earlier today, we heard their foreign minister say they never said they wanted to make a deal, and that they'll do whatever they can to prevent Iran.
What they tell you and what they tell the public, I just put out a truth about their disinformation. I assume most of you saw it. But they used AI. They said they attacked the USS Abraham Lincoln, one of the largest ships in the world, an aircraft carrier, and they show pictures of it burning. It was never attacked. It was never burning. The Wall Street Journal put out a false story that 5 of our big, beautiful tankers that we feed the planes with, they give the planes the gas, jet fuel, hundreds of thousands of gallons of gasoline, that they were all essentially destroyed. They weren't destroyed at all. In fact, 4 of them were not even, literally were not damaged. and one of them has slight damage and it'll be back in the air soon. But if you read the Wall Street Journal, it's like they were totally decimated and destroyed, like Iran has been. So they put out phony stories. The kamikaze boats. The kamikaze boats don't exist. They're fake. And you can almost see that when you look at them. It looks great, yeah. Because if they did exist, we'd hit them just like we hit other boats all over.
As being in the media, as you're hearing him tell you this, there's got to be something inside you, if you are a real journalist, to say, so you're telling me our own publications in the media are lying to the American people. Duh! That's why Brendan Carr is coming down on you. The Wall Street Journal posts a story that says our aircraft carrier's on fire. It's complete BS. And the people standing on Air Force One asking him questions are getting this information from him, which they can verify very easily and report to the people that the newspapers have been lying to you. The stations, whatever, networks have been lying, but they won't do it. Like I said earlier, things that we thought we could believe in, we can no longer believe in. And we're not even getting that kind of information from people on the right.
But they don't exist. In fact, some of the people say, where are the boats? Well, how come nobody's seen the boats? You know why? Because it's AI generated. It's fake. And I didn't realize this before we started, but Iran is known for a lot of fake news. And they deal with our fake news. And I actually think it's pretty criminal, because our media companies, who have no credibility whatsoever, are putting out information that they know is false. And it's a very dangerous thing for the country. I think they could be in serious jeopardy, frankly.
All right, so listening to what he just said and how I opened my show and how I said the obliteration that has to happen is a lot more than a lot of people understood. And we're finding out. We knew there was fake news. He was the one that coined it, fake news. But now you're seeing, in addition to fake news, where their allegiances are. You know, it's okay to be a Democrat versus Republican. You're going to say stuff about Trump, say it about him. You want to call him a pedo, say whatever you want. That's against him. But now you're taking what the mullahs are saying in Iran, and you're using false information and AI to sway Americans. That's a little bit more than a party line or partisan type report. That is completely, in my estimation, treasonous.
I put out a fundraising email a couple of days ago, and it's being criticized for using official White House photos of you at the dignified transfer. And the PAC is also promising access to secret.
Well, I was at the dignified transfer, unlike a lot of other people.
Do you think it's an appropriate email to send? Your critics are saying that you're fundraising.
I didn't see it. I mean, somebody puts it up. We have a lot of people working for us, but there's nobody that's better to the military than me. And all you have to do is look at the election, look at the election results, look at the kind of votes that we get, look at the poll numbers. There's nobody that's ever been higher as a president than me with the military.
Can you guys comment on the 6 dead soldiers? ABC News.
One of the worst, most fake, most corrupt.
Can you give a comment on the dead soldiers? You know what ABC News?
I think it's maybe the most corrupt news organizations on the planet. I think they're terrible.
Can you give a comment?
You ever notice that the media doesn't report when he zings them directly? Who are you with? ABC. You're one of the worst people ever. And unless we show this or other people show it or you happen to come upon it, he's saying it for a reason. He's saying it because that's the message. That message, the people who you are listening to as reporters are completely full of crap. And how much, I think this is a 12 or 14 minute gaggle. How much of what he says here, which should be news because it's the president saying it, ever makes it to broadcast? Maybe 30 seconds? Because they're not, number one, they're not going to report something unless it's sensational or makes him look bad.
What anymore from ABC?
Right here along
You're much better.
Thank you, sir. What's Israel doing to help secure the Strait of Hormuz?
What they're working with us. The relationship with Israel, that was other fake news. They were saying, oh, did I have an argument with Bibi? No, we really get along well. And he would tell you we're leading the whole thing. And they can say it or not say it, it doesn't matter. The main thing is to get it done. But my relationship with Bibi Netanyahu is, I would say, extraordinary, actually.
Go ahead. When you called for the people of Iran to rise up, overthrow the government, what's going on there? They haven't done that. You expect them to.
You're dealing with thugs. You're dealing with horrible people. You're dealing with people that are violent and vicious. And that's the leadership and the people right under them, their military or their police. And they've notified everybody, and they put out statements that if you protest, you're going to be shot and killed. The protesters have no guns. And I know you're a brave person, but I don't think you'd be protesting. And so I think it's very hard for them to protest. I fully understand it. They said, if you protest, you will be killed. A week ago and 2 weeks ago, they killed 32,000 protesters, at least. We think the number's much higher than that. They shot and killed 32,000 protesters who were greatly enthusiastic and want to see a change because they've destroyed the country. The people that are running have destroyed the country. But think of it, they shot and killed much more than 32,000 people. Now they put out a notice 2 days ago that we're going to shoot and kill any protester. And they don't have guns.
I'm going to jump. President Trump it came right on speaking.
I'd like to ask Will, if you would, to give a little description of what we're signing, the executive order, and then I'll ask JD to speak.
Yes, sir. As you stated in your State of the Union address, in light of widespread revelations of fraud in federally funded programs in states like Minnesota and California, this executive order in front of you will establish a new task force aimed at rooting out that fraud, returning potentially billions or tens of billions or even hundreds of billions of dollars to the American taxpayer. This task force will be chaired by the Vice President. The Vice Chairman will be the head of the FTC, Andrew Ferguson, who's with us here as well today. But this is going to launch a whole-of-government approach to rooting out the very serious problem of fraud in federally funded programs around the country.
As an example, you've been seeing it, and seeing it pretty big in Minnesota, $19 billion. But that's only for one little aspect of the fraud. It's $19 billion, and California, as they say, is 10 times worse, and other states are 10. And this is not a Republican-Democrat thing. This is wherever it's taking place. It seems that it's usually in blue states. If it's in a red state, we're going there too. But it seems that it's heavily, heavily, heavily Democrat. And what they've done is so sad. When you look at the Minnesota scam, a lot of it has to do with Somalia. Nobody's calling out anybody, but a lot of it has to do, but it's Somalia and plenty of others. And I believe the governor is complicit. I believe Ilhan Omar is complicit. I believe that your attorney general is complicit. And if they are, you're going to hopefully find out about it, and you're going to have to do what you have to do. If we found half of the fraud that's taking place in this country, and I think you have a chance of doing that, we would have much more than a balanced budget. That's the kind of numbers you're talking about. The theft is incredible. And I think JD will make, and Andrew will make a charge later on that local states should handle nursing homes and all of these things that the federal government shouldn't be involved in. It's too big. The federal government should handle military and a couple of other things. But when it comes to nursing homes, you saw where a young gentleman was going around and knocking on doors, and none of the nursing homes existed, none of the nurseries existed. The money that's being paid out, and the federal government pays for it. When you see all these people coming in illegally into our country, many criminals, many drug dealers, murderers, 11,888 murders, and you look at California, and more come in, and yet they never had money, and yet they pay them. You know why they pay them? Because the federal government is charged with paying. We're not paying them anymore, and I said that.
So these two really smart guys are going to be, I think it's going to, hopefully it's going to be JD's. This will not be like a Kamala where she was put in charge of the border and she never went there, JD, right? You promise?
I promise, sir.
Remember, Kamala was put in charge. She was the border czar. She never went to the border. She never called any of the great border patrol. The border patrol testified. We never spoke to her in 4 years. And that was a disaster. But this is different. This is a different group of people. I think maybe before JD, I'll ask Stephen Miller say a few words too, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Miller.
Well, under President Trump's leadership, as we've seen, the illegal flow across the southern border was stopped completely. But what we found since President Trump came into office is that the Democrats have set up a system to funnel hundreds of billions and ultimately trillions of dollars to migrants that are in our country, oftentimes from places like Somalia. So as an example, ICE recently asked a group of illegal immigrants that were in detention whether or not they were receiving Medicaid. Half of them raised their hands and volunteered that they were on Medicaid. Just volunteered that. These aren't the ones who are hiding it, right? They also asked illegal aliens how they paid their medical bills, and they said that if they don't have Medicaid, they go to hospitals, they get free care there, and they bill it to the taxpayers. So they aren't paying for any of their own health care in this country. This is one example. And we've seen this over and over and over again. So under President Trump's leadership, and then of course with JD and the head of the FTC, Andrew Ferguson, we're going to see the first ever effort in American history to reclaim the ultimately trillions of dollars that were stolen from taxpayers. I believe, and I know President Trump believes, that when this theft is exposed, we will see that if all of it were stopped, it would be enough to balance the budget. The extraction of wealth from American taxpayers to people who don't belong here is the primary cause of the national debt, and this is the first ever effort to shut that down. Thank you, Mr. President.
First ever. And everyone knows they've been cheating for years. It's the first ever. And it's got to be stopped. I mean, it's got to be stopped. Think of it, Somalia is a third world, maybe a fourth world nation. One of the worst, one of the most dangerous. They don't have anything. They don't have councils. They don't have government. They don't have police. They shoot each other all over the place. They come here and they steal $19 billion. That's crazy. And Ilhan Omar, I hope this is part of it, but she married her brother, supposedly. I mean, there's a lot of documentation. That means she's here illegally and she's a congresswoman. And I hope you're going to be looking at that, or somebody is, all right? Because she's one of the ringleaders here. She's bad news, really bad news. She's so bad for our country. Anyway, JD, please say a few words.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is a very important whole-of-government approach to tackle the fraud problem. And let me just tell one story. One of the things that even before this executive order was signed that we were able to stop under the president's leadership is we saw evidence that in Minneapolis there were Somalis, primarily illegal immigrants, who were defrauding a Medicaid program that was meant to go to autistic children. So they were taking children who were supposed to get benefits, and they were claiming that their kids were actually autistic even though they weren't. And what did this mean? This meant two things. Number one, you had a lot of people getting rich off of the fraud while American citizens got poorer. And the second thing that it meant is that you had autistic kids in Minneapolis, in suburban Minneapolis, who weren't getting benefits they needed because Somali fraudsters were literally stealing out of their pocket. It's got to stop. And unfortunately, that kind of fraud is one example of probably hundreds just within the state of Minneapolis, and then it's repeated and replayed all over the United States of America. When we first started talking about this problem, the president made it very clear he wanted us to take the fraud problem seriously because nobody had until he was president. We started to figure out one big hole that existed is that the agencies of the government weren't actually talking to each other. So Treasury would have evidence of financial fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Justice about it. Health and Human Services had evidence of Medicaid fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Treasury about it. So what this executive order does is force the entire apparatus of the federal government to do two things: stop the fraud on the American taxpayer and make sure that the benefits that ought by right go to American citizens and not to fraudsters. Andrew Ferguson will be the vice chair and is going to do a great job. If you're curious what's the difference between the vice chair and the chair, the vice chair is going to do all the work and I'm going to take all the credit. Andrew.
Yeah, look, I mean, millions and millions of Americans pay into these programs every day, and they expect to get something out of it.
And this fraud is just siphoning money that millions of Americans pay to fund their hospitals, to fund their daycare centers, into completely fake businesses. It isn't just unfair to all of us as taxpayers who pay for all of this. It's particularly unfair to the Americans who need this the most and watch this money leave their hospital, leave their school system, and go out to fraud. And that is why this effort is so important. And I think we've just begun really looking at this, but I think that one of the things we're going to find is that in a lot of these agencies, the previous administration was pretty lax about existing anti-fraud controls, and we're going to expose that too.
I would take the word pretty out. I would change it with unbelievably lax. They weren't, it's not even lax. Lax isn't a good enough word. The previous administration was fraudulent, okay? And I think that's what you're going to find also. And, you know, we worked so hard, like most favored nations drug prices. For years, people have wanted. We paid the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by far, by 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, more than London would be paying in New York, more than any city in Europe was paying than our cities. We would have a pill that would sell for $10 in Munich, in Germany, would sell for $10, and in New York it would be $130 or whatever. And we worked so hard, and we pulled it off. It's called Most Favored Nations. So now we went from by far the most expensive drugs anywhere in the world, prescription drugs, to the least expensive, and I had to get all the nations to agree, and I don't want to bore you with how I did it, but I did it. Everyone said it was impossible to do, including the drug companies, and we did it. And we worked so hard on it, and we're going to save so much money for the people. Your drug prices are going to be dropping at levels never even, by 50, 60, 70, 80% in some cases, but you work so hard, and then you see them stealing $19 billion. It's like in one pocket, out the other. And I think Andrew and JD, I think they have maybe one of the most important jobs. Maybe it could be one of the most important things that we're signing because I really believe that they have an opportunity to do something so good for our country. You know, people talk about balancing budgets. You can't balance a budget when people are stealing $19 billion, and nobody's ever heard of anything like it. We had, I guess, in the same state, you went autism, where 4 or 5 years ago, they spent $1 million, and now it's almost $400 million in just a few years. Well, autism didn't go up like that, and even the $1 million was probably a fraud, but it went from $1 million to almost $400 million in just a few years. These are crooked people. They basically said everybody in the state had autism. These are crooked, horrible people. And, you know, I was elected on, with JD, Make America Great Again. That was it. And we can't have this stuff happening. Right. We have to be respected. And they left. So I'm going to sign this. We'll take some questions, but let me sign this first. Before I don't forget, let's see, before I decide not to, okay?
Yes, sir.
I don't forget not to, but maybe I'll decide not to. I would decide not to. If I didn't think they could do the job, I would decide not to. But that'll be a terrible thing. I think they're going to find numbers, Andrew, I think you're going to find numbers that are far higher than you even think. And you know, Andrew came to us, he said, sir, he's read the stories about Minnesota. We know California is many times worse, but Minnesota is terrible. They're all terrible. Those cities are terrible. New York is terrible. What's going on in Chicago, Illinois, with that slob of a governor is terrible. And the kind of money we're talking about is just country changing. It's country changing money. It's having a deficit to having a really profitable country where you can lower your taxes substantially for people. And I think you have an opportunity to do it. And I think you two guys are the right guys. If you guys can't do it, we've got a problem, because nobody else will be able to do it.
Yes, sir.
So I'll sign, and then we'll take some nice questions from our wonderful media. Okay.
Good one.
you go. Very important. It's a big deal. We've been working on this very long. Right?
Yes,
Steve,
sir.
right? Will?
Yes, sir.
Andrew, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President. You said during your State of the Union that this type of fraud, the corruption, is the type of thing that can shred the fabric of a nation. Why do you suppose then that leaders in recent memory haven't looked at the systemic amount of fraud
Because
that's
they're
taking
crooked.
place? And
Because they're crooked. They make money. They gain power. They use it for power. Like with the Somalians, they vote in a block, 100%. They make a deal with the Somalians. They all vote because they're on a gravy train. It's money first, power second. A lot of people say power first. No, it's money first, power second. Do you ever see where like Mercedes? People come over from Somalia, they have no money, and now they're buying Mercedes-Benz cars. Okay, it's more cash goes out of the Minnesota airport than any other place in the world or so. We're going to find it. And Minnesota is really bad. The governor's corrupt. The attorney general is totally corrupt. Just like the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James. She's a highly corrupt person. Bragg, the DA, is a corrupt person. They're all corrupt. These are corrupt people. And we got too many of them in our country. And we have to expose them, and we have to catch them. And if these two guys can't, these are high IQ people. I've always liked high IQ. These are high IQ people. If they don't do it, we're going to go a long way, fellas, to find somebody else that's going to. We have no choice. If honestly, and they may not do a good job. If they don't do a good job,
Thank you, sir.
it's possible. If they don't do a good job, the country's sort of in trouble. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Two questions for the
And I think they're going to do a great job. Go ahead.
First, Mr. Vice President, Democrats are already calling you the fraud czar. What's your reaction to that title? And then second,
Good title.
Second, given
I like
your
it.
past skepticism of foreign adventurism, are you completely on board with the current war in Iran?
So I like fraud czar. It's certainly what we're going to do. And look, we have to do it. As the president said, this is a problem that has festered in this country for far too long, and far too few people have actually wanted to do anything about it. That's what makes this administration different, is that we actually tackle the problems the American people have been confronting. So I'm very happy about it. And look, I think that I know what you're trying to do, Phil. You're trying to drive a wedge between members of the administration, between me and the president. What the president said consistently, going back to 2015, and I agreed with him, is that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We have taken this military action under the president's leadership. I think all of us, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, should pray for success and pray for the safety of our troops. That's the approach that I've taken. Make it as successful as possible.
So there's no hesitation, given your past statements, with the current operation?
What do you mean there's no hesitation with my past statements?
Given your skepticism of foreign adventurism, you were a critic of the global war on terror previously.
Well, I think one big difference, Phil, is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past we've had dumb presidents. And I trust President Trump to get the job done, to do a good job for the American people, and to make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. Absolutely.
Thanks, sir.
Look, JD's been great, but here's the simple thing, and I have, some people, I don't want wars. I want wars less than almost anybody. Peace through strength. But you know what? I've watched Iran for a long time. I've called them out 20 years ago when I was a civilian that liked watching the world. And they're violent, vicious people. The leadership, violent, vicious people. They killed 32,000 protesters over the last 3 weeks. They put out a memo 2 days ago saying, if you protest, we will shoot you and kill you in the streets. And somebody said, oh, there's not that many protests. Well, first of all, there are bombs going off all over the place. But even if there weren't, who's going to do that? Who's going to do it? They don't have any guns, and the other ones have latest in line machine gun, right? And every form of gun you can have. They shoot them right through the middle of the head. They're violent people. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would use it. And sometimes I'll have some of the people that, feel very strongly, like I do about wars. And I say, do you think Iran is violent, and do you think their people are violent? Yes, leadership. Do you think they should have a nuclear weapon, which is massive power? I don't even want to discuss how powerful, because it's depressing. And they said, no, they shouldn't have. Definitely they shouldn't have. They said, and you don't want to fight war? No, we don't want to fight war. So these are naive people that frankly are stupid. If you believe that Iran should have a nuclear weapon, there's something wrong with you, because they would use it within, the only question is within 1 hour if they get it, or 1 day. They will use it, and they will blow up the entire Middle East, not just Israel. They'll start with Israel, but they will blow up. And you got to see that when they unexpectedly started sending missiles to every country within 1,000 miles of them. I mean, they're blowing up countries that were neighbors, not necessarily some friends. They actually were blowing up some friends. They were blowing up the people that handle their accounts. They're sending thousands of missiles into countries that didn't expect to be in the war because they wanted to take over the Middle East. And if I didn't terminate Barack Hussein Obama's horrible Iran nuclear deal, which I did in my first term, one of the dumbest deals, perhaps the dumbest deal because of the danger involved, you would have had them have a nuclear weapon 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. They would have used it, blown up the Middle East, and they would have then come after us. And if these gorgeous B-2 bombers, give me that bomber, Andrews. Let me just hug that little sucker. Give me that bomber over there. Thank you. You knew immediately which one. This looks small, but in person it's very big. Because it's the only plane capable of carrying a 200,000-pound bomb. So I don't know how they do it, because it's very sleek and nice, but it carries a lot of weapons and there's a lot of bombs. But had I not sent this incredible machine, times numerous others, to hit Iran at midnight with no moon, dead dark, every single bomb was dropped right down the chute that it was supposed to hit. How they do it, who knows? Nobody else can figure. No other country can do it. No other country has our military or even close. And I think we've probably proven that with Venezuela and now with because we have done a number on Iran. But if I didn't do that, if I didn't decimate, I call it their nuclear dust, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month after that bombing took place. And they would have used it on first Israel and then the Middle East. And you know that because all of those missiles that were launched against their neighbors were set long ago, long before they knew they would be using them this quickly. Had we not done this, you would have had a nuclear war that would have evolved into World War III. And more important, this is a war that there would have been nothing left. So we've done a great thing. The people that say it's okay for a very sick ideology, a very sick country in terms of its leadership, very good people, great people. But the people that say that, I think they're actually, they're either evil or they're stupid. So if you believe that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, they should not have it, then you have to absolutely love what I've done, because in 2 weeks we have decimated them. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft weapons. They have no leadership. The leadership is gone. But then they set up a new leadership to go and name a new leader, and that leadership is gone. And now they think maybe the sun is gone. They're all gone. My biggest problem is I have no idea who we're talking to, because nobody ever heard of any of these people. They're all dead. But we did a job for the world, not a job for us, for the whole world. We took the worst country in 50 years and maybe longer from the ideological standpoint, a country that wanted to blow up the world, a country that is sick, and it has a religious fervor. And when you add religion, you know, people don't realize more people died in religious wars than every other war put together. And that's what you would have had here. And it was a terrible thing. I'm very proud of what we did. And I think JD understands better than most. If you give Iran a nuclear weapon, at least a very substantial part of the world would be blown up. And it'll be used almost immediately. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You don't mind if I keep this here, do you? Isn't that a beautiful thing? You know, I used to look at it, And I said, it's a piece of art, but how can it be effective? It's so stealth. Think of it, Peter. 1 in the morning, it flies in, and they say, sir, they're in Iranian airspace. And I say, oh, and I'm watching it from the Situation Room with a couple of other very smart people, including some good generals, real generals, not television generals. And all of a sudden, you see that dive. They start diving, and sure, and you see him 30,000, 20,000. Boy, I said, that was a lot. They went down fast to aim it. And they know they're coming, and they're smart, and they never saw them. And they're firing a little bit, but they don't know what they're firing at because they can't see a thing. And then you hear the biggest explosions that anybody's ever heard. Those are the biggest bombs. Outside of nuclear, those are the biggest bombs. And you say, what technology we have. What a great country. I built it, largely, I built it during my first term. I built it. I didn't know I'd have to use it this much in my second term. But we had an incompetent president. We had an incompetent administration. And if that group of people in any form, whether it's Kamala, him, it doesn't matter, would have had another 4 years, we would have had no country left. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You say you're doing a job for the rest of the world. In your conversations with your counterparts, are they thanking you? What are their conversations like when you talk about this military conflict that's taking place in Iran?
Well, they should be thanking me because many of them get 90%. China, as an example, should be thanking us, but I don't expect to thank you, but they should be thanking us. Japan gets 95%, China 91%. Many of the countries, South Korea gets a tremendous percentage of their oil and therefore their energy from the Straits, or as they call it, the Strait. And they should be not only thanking us, they should be helping us. What does surprise me is that they're not eager to help. There are a couple. We'll be announcing some names soon. There are some that really were right up front. I would announce their name now, other than maybe they prefer it not being announced for whatever reason. I will say this: it's a lot easier to get people today than it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, before we destroyed before we obliterated the country, before we took out, because they're down to about 8% of their missiles. They're down to a small portion of their drones, and we've demolished many of their factories where they make the missiles and the drones, and the rest are all following. Our military has been amazing. We hit Carg Island, took out every single thing in Carg Island except one thing. We left the pipes, because if we take out the pipes, it takes a long time to build them. And at some point, something is going to happen that's positive with respect to those pipes. But there are some countries that greatly disappointed me. And, I'm the one that got them to pay from 2% to 5% of GDP, NATO. And I get along great with those countries in NATO, but I always said, the problem with NATO is we'll always be there for them, but they'll never be there for us. And when I hear the UK, which was sort of considered the Rolls-Royce of allies, right? Wouldn't you say? They were the oldest, and they were going to be there. And I say it would be really helpful if you'd send over a couple of ships, and if you have some minesweepers, which they do, be very helpful. And the Prime Minister is a nice man. I think he's a very nice guy. He says, well, I'd like to ask my team. I said, you don't have to worry about a team. You don't have a team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make a decision. Well, I have to speak to my people. I said, you don't have to speak to anybody. So it was very disappointing. And then after we obliterated them and destroyed their military, the whole thing, and it became a much safer zone, he said, we're going to send over 2 aircraft carriers. I said, I don't want them anymore. I don't want them after we win. I want them before we start. I don't need your aircraft carriers after we've already won. So, those things are very disappointing. And you have to remember, we have 45,000 troops in Japan. We have 45,000 troops in South Korea. We have 45,000, 50,000 troops in Germany. We defend all these countries. And then, do you have any minesweepers? And they say, well, would it be possible for us not to get involved? I've been saying it for a long time. This is the greatest thing to come out of this. We spend trillions and trillions of dollars on NATO to defend other countries. And I always said, but if it ever comes time to defend us, they're not going to be there. Many of them would not be there. And we're going to have to start thinking more wisely in this country. Some have been very good. One or two have been great. I'll tell you, the great ones are at the right time. But there have been some that were right up there, Peter. They were right up there. They wanted to do it so much. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you. You were talking about Iran a couple times today and what they did after Epic Fury began. You said they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. Are you surprised that nobody briefed you ahead of time that that might be their retaliation?
Nobody, no. The greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit. They were, I wouldn't say friendly countries. They were like neutral. They lived with them for years. Peter, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel with their nuclear weapon. But after we knocked out their nuclear potential weapon, they started building missiles, thousands and thousands of missiles. And they were going to do it with missiles while they developed. These are sick people. While they developed nuclear, somehow they were going to start at a different site because that site was, you saw the site, the mountain. They were going to go into a certain area, which we know exactly where it is, and they were going to do that. And it's incredible what we've done. I tell you, the job we've done. Do you know, if I didn't terminate Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, you would right now, well, Israel would be gone. It would be incinerated. And probably the Middle East likewise. And remember, they have all of those missiles. And I heard they were sending missiles to UAE. I said, that's strange. You know, UAE is like the banker for Iran. They're like the banker. Qatar, their neighbors, they got along okay. Saudi Arabia. All of a sudden, Kuwait is getting hit. Bahrain is getting, all these countries are getting hit. There was no expert that would say that was going to happen. It's not a question of like, gee, should you have known? And if we did know, big deal. I mean, we have to do what we have to do. But we hit them so hard like nobody's ever been hit. We hit them very hard. And we've extinguished most of their missiles. We've extinguished most of their drones. We've extinguished most of the places where the missiles and the drones are built. We've fully extinguished 2 layers of leadership and probably a third, if you believe some stories. So we only have one thing, to have a little choke point, and they've used it very well for years, but it doesn't work. But I think this, if some of these countries that we've been good to for years, and maybe more important than that, some of these countries that get 90% and 95% of their energy from Hormuz, the Strait. Hormuz, a famous, wonderful, beautiful place, but you wouldn't want to be necessarily sailing a boat there right now.
I would not.
Okay, you know why? Not because of them, because of us. Because we've taken out their entire Navy. We've taken out every one of their drone, they call it a drone layer, a mine layer. There's specific boats that are meant to put mines on. How would you like to have a nation that has 22 boats where their sole function, they're very different looking boats. You wouldn't want one for your family. They're not pretty. Their sole function is to lift a mine into the water and drop it a certain number of feet down. But they had 22 of them. We've taken out all of them. But you can probably drop them off on the boats. So we don't even know. By the way, we don't know that any mines have even been dropped. But the thought that they would scares people that have billion-dollar ships. Yeah, please.
Thank you, President Trump. I'd like to ask the Vice President about his plans to go after possible fraud in California and New York. We know, of course, about Minnesota. And President Trump, first, could I ask you, you said earlier today that the new Supreme Leader, Mutabak Khomeini, you don't know if he's dead or alive. There are a couple of interesting reports about him today. There's one report that he just narrowly escaped death in the first airstrikes by stepping out into his garden. There's another report that he may actually be gay despite leading a theocracy that hangs gay people. How do you determine what's true, and do you have an assessment of this?
Well, so far nobody knows. If you look at his father, he used to give talks a lot, you know, talking about death to America. He'd say death to America all the time. When they say death to America, you should believe them, because that's what they would have. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it. But they never had the chance. I never gave them the chance to use it. And other presidents should have done. I spoke to one of the former presidents who I actually like. I actually speak to some. I do like some people, be shocking. And he said, I wish I did what you did. Could have done it. Other presidents, somebody should have done it. 47 years this went on. They call Iran the bully of the Middle East. And you could have never had the Abraham Accords. You could never have had peace in the Middle East. Now you're going to have peace. You could never do it with the dark cloud of a nuclear Iran. But Iran is a shell of itself. It's no longer a bully. It's the one that gets bullied. It's a bully that got beat up. We beat the crap out of them. And they deserve that. You know, when you see a soldier walking down the street without his arms, or being helped down the street because he's got no legs, or his face is blown to smithereens with no legs and no arms, those two, no legs, no arms, and a face that got racked. That was done by roadside bombs. That's the favorite weapon of Soleimani, who I killed in my first administration. General Soleimani, had I not killed him, that was the beginning of their downfall, because had he not gone, it's possible that we would not be this far advanced in destroying Iran, because he was a really good general. He was a vicious, horrible man, but he was a brilliant general. And he was looking to knock out 5 of our military bases at one time. And the man that died with him was his counterpart in Iraq. And they were working together. And they got hit real hard. And if that didn't happen, we would have had a problem. But maybe more importantly than that, he was really the mastermind behind it. And they never found somebody to replace him in terms of the genius. I knocked him out. And that was a big step, knocking him out. But if we didn't get rid of the Obama deal, I terminated it against the wishes of my then Secretary of State. He was no Marco. Against the wishes of a lot of people at the time. You remember that, Peter? A lot of people. Had I not terminated, remember that, Stephen? You remember? They were all going, no, dude, this is not. That deal was a disaster. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have had it 3 years ago. And it would have been used, I would say, 2 to 3 years ago, and it would have been used in the Middle East. And by the way, after they were finished that, they were coming over here. They never got a chance to do it.
I just want to ask you about something very interesting that you said twice today. That you talked to another former president about the Iran strikes.
I did.
Was it George W. Bush?
No.
Was it Bill Clinton?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say, because
Barack Obama.
a member of a party, they have Trump derangement syndrome, but it's somebody that happens to like me, and I like that person who's a smart person. But that person said, I wish I did it. Okay, but I don't want to get into who.
Okay.
I don't want to get him into trouble. Maybe, hey,
I have a guess.
you know what? Yeah, I think you probably know. You know, it's interesting. And maybe he'd be proud. And I could even ask him that. Would you like me to reveal your name to Peter at Fox? Well, at least you have high ratings. Your ratings are through the roof, Peter.
Yes, thank you for noticing.
Congratulations.
Can I ask you another question about the war? If Iran, as you said, totally obliterated, got the missiles, got the first 2 rounds of leadership, Air Force gone, Navy gone, can we wrap this war up this week?
Yeah, sure. Good.
Will we?
I don't think so, but it'll be soon. Won't be long. And we're going to have a much safer world when it's wrapped up. It'll be wrapped up soon. We're going to have a much safer world. I had an obligation to do this. I didn't want to, I call it an excursion. I didn't want to make this journey. We had the highest stock market in history. We had low gas prices. Everything was good. And I know exactly. I know what, you're going to do it. And people are going to raise the price of oil. And that's good. But I know that. But that's a very small thing compared to allowing them to have. You want to see a stock market go down? Start letting them hit you with nukes, okay? I think, I said it this morning, I think it's a very small price to pay And frankly, I thought it was going to go down much more, if you want to know the truth. I assumed that it was going to go down much more, only because people don't understand it's a big chess game at a very high level. It's a very high level chess, the highest. And I'm dealing with very smart players. These are smart people. They don't get there. You know, when you deal with some of these people, you're dealing with high level intellect, very high IQ people. These are not Jasmine Crockett and her group. These are smart people. These are really smart people, and violent people, and vicious people, and some very nice people. And some are very nice but violent. They turn violent. But you know what? If I didn't do what I did, we would have been hit. Number one, very important, was the termination of Obama's horrible deal. And number two, this beautiful plane hitting them 8 months ago, whatever it was, and taking out their nuclear capacity. That totally threw them for a loop. If they had that bomb at either time, 5 years ago or 7 months ago, if they had that bomb would have been used almost immediately.
Mr. President, two questions on domestic policy, bringing it close to home. First of all, the Save America Act, what are you expecting this week when this vote takes place in the U.S. Senate? Will the Vice President's vote be
I think it's imperative that it gets done. I'm not sure it is. You know, the Democrats have horrible policy. It's just incredible. But they stick together. It's the one thing they do. Their Supreme Court members stick together. Those appointed by a Democrat stick together. If Barack Hussein Obama appoints a member of the Supreme Court, that member never goes against him. And they're proud about it. They say, I don't give a damn if it's good or bad. That man appointed me, and I'm never going to let him down. I don't say that's right, wrong. I just say they stick together. Republicans go the opposite way. If Donald Trump appointed me, I'm going to show the world that I can be totally just and I can be independent of Donald Trump. He's not controlling me. And I don't want to control them. I just want to have smart decisions. They gave us a decision on tariffs the other day that won't change tariffs. I can do it a different way. I always knew I could do it a different way. This was a little quicker, a little easier, a little better. But they gave it a decision that could cost this country $500 billion to pay people back, because now I have to start the tariffs all over again. Very simple. And what happens with the money I've already collected? Why didn't they say, starting from now, go the other way? $500 billion, perhaps. It's so sad. But one thing about the Democrats, they stick together like glue. They impeached me twice for absolutely no reason, unanimously. Fortunately, the Republicans stuck together, and it was something. It was pretty wild. But the Democrats have horrible policy, transgender for everybody, open borders, men playing in women's sports. But the one thing they do have is they stick together, no matter how bad the policy. It's embarrassing to watch them try to defend it. And in a way, I say, as a Republican, I say, thank goodness they have bad policy, because you'd never beat them. We have something in there now, the Save America Act. Voter ID with a picture, right? That's a 99% issue. Even among Democrats, you know, Democrats poll at 89% on that. And then they have proof of citizenship. And then they have no mail-in ballots. No mail-in ballots. We have no mail-in. You go to California, they send out like 38 million ballots. Some Democrats got 7, 8 ballots. Republicans are a lot of times calling in, where's my ballot? Where's my ballot? They're lucky to get one. Jimmy Carter, probably the greatest thing he ever did. I thought he was a nice man, not a great president, to put it mildly. How did his attack work out in Iran? Not too good. I think ours is slightly better, wouldn't you say? But Jimmy Carter, the one thing he did after he left with Scoop Jackson and some others, they formed a very elite council, a committee that came out and said very strongly, no mail-in ballots, because if you have, we're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots like we do. The only country in the whole world. People have tried it. France tried it, and they went away. They're now doing paper ballots, watermark paper, which is very hard to cheat. So when you look at what happens with this country, we really have to fix it. That'll be very popular. The other thing we put in there, just as best of, I call it the best of Trump. We have the three things I just said, right? But then I added on no men playing in women's sports, and I added in no transgender surgery, the mutilation of our children. We have no mutilation of our children, no transgender. I think they say that's an 80% issue. I think they're 99% issues, but whether they're 80% or 99%, the problem is we have a couple of Republicans. They shouldn't be allowed. They're horrible people, and they're willing to vote against anything. And we have all the Democrats will vote against it. So I think it hurts the Democrats to vote against it, because I'm going to instruct all the Republicans to say that so-and-so that they're running against voted against the saving of our children from transgender mutilation, right? That's pretty unpopular. They want men and women's sports. That's pretty unpopular. They want voter ID, but the Democrats don't. Everybody wants voter ID. Everybody wants proof of citizenship. And most people don't want mail-in voting because they know it's a fraud. Touches too many hands. I mean, the postman gets it, this one gets it, that one. So these are all issues that are in the 90s to 100. I would say some are virtually 100%. And the interesting thing is they're that way not only with the Republicans. I'm not talking about leadership. I'm talking about they're that way also, most importantly, with the people. The people of our country want voter ID. The people of our country want proof of citizenship. And that includes 88%, 89% of Democrats. And I think the Republicans, Eric Schmidt, Rick Scott, Tim Scott, I speak to so many of them, they all want it. I hope John Thune can get it across the line. He's trying. I mean, he told me this morning, I spoke to him, he's trying. I think it'll be a very, very bad thing for our country if they don't. We're just asking for basic things. Think of it. You can't have voter ID. Do you know in California, if you ask a person to show their identification, they have the right to put you in jail. If you're an official and you say, may I please see your identification, you're subject to going to jail. That's how crazy it's gotten. With a low IQ person, you know, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president should not have learning disabilities, okay? And I know it's highly controversial to say such a horrible thing. The president of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia, everything about him is dumb. But then he looked at the audience and said, what, I'm smarter than you, or something like that. That was pretty simple. So now on top of everything else, I call him a racist because it happened to be a black audience. I will tell you this. I think it was the worst interview I've ever seen of any human being in my life, okay? Anybody else have any questions?
Will it be necessary to use even a limited ground force to secure whatever nuclear material remains in Iran as part of that threat?
Yeah.
And secondly, have you made a decision?
You mean to go in and get it?
Yes, sir.
Why would I tell you a thing like that?
And secondly...
You know, I can't say to reporters, sir, will you attack Carg Island? Will you occupy Carg? They ask me these questions. And I don't want to be mean, but they're stupid questions. If any president answered those questions, they shouldn't be president.
And secondly, sir, do you still plan to travel to Beijing at the end of this?
I don't know. We're working on that right now. We're speaking to China. I'd love to, but because of the war, I want to be here. I have to be here, I feel. And So we've requested that we delay it a month or so, and I'm looking forward to being with them. We have a very good relationship, but because of the war, there's no tricks to it either. It's not like, oh, gee, I'm waiting. It's very simple. We got a war going on. I think it's important that I be here. You know? So it could be that we delay it a little bit. Not much. Peter?
When you say Cuba is next.
Cuba.
Is Cuba, whatever you do with the military there, it seems like something. Will that look more like Iran or Venezuela?
Can't tell you that. I can tell you that they're talking to us. It's a failed nation. They have no money. They have no oil. They have no nothing. They have nice land. They have nice landscape, you know. It's a beautiful island. I think they have great people. You know, I know so many people from Cuba that were treated terribly, and they're over here and they became rich. They're very entrepreneurial people, very smart. I know a lot from Florida, especially. There's so many people. A friend of mine started over with nothing. He's now the largest owner of gas stations in the country and stuff. I mean, Cuban. I also know, I was just with a fantastic person who's Cuban and made a fortune in sugar. You know, Fanjul family, right? And this family wants to go back to Cuba to visit it. They haven't been back in like 50 years or something. They largely come from Cuba. And we'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. They want to go back. Not only Fanjul, a lot of Cubans have said, oh boy, would they love to go back. I think Cuba, I don't know, in its own way, for tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, you know. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's seen the end. You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader. Extremely violent. That's how they governed. They governed with violence. But a lot of people would like to go back. Okay, one more question.
A quick question on fraud for Vice President Vance. Mr. Vice President, you announced a couple of weeks ago in the EOB that the administration would be halting Medicaid payments to Minnesota until the state decided to take pervasive steps to root out fraud. Do you have an update to that specific situation? Do you think that could be a model moving forward for the task force for states that won't cooperate?
So I don't have an update there. Dr. Oz is looking to it, trying to work with the authorities in Minnesota to try to figure that situation out. But yeah, I mean, I think there are two obvious tools that we have to stop the fraud that's happening against the American people. One is that when we see evidence of fraud, we stop the payments. Pretty simple, right? We know that the American people are being defrauded. Let's try to stop the payments and ensure that whoever's making these payments is actually complying with some basic due diligence and making sure the payments are going to the right place. I think the second tool, of course, we have, as the president mentioned, is we have law enforcement options. We know that some of this fraud is just bad. Some of it's criminal. We know that people are intentionally trying to defraud the American people. It's not just in Minnesota, it's all across the country.
99% is criminal.
Yes, sir. So this is one of the reasons why DOJ is such an important part of this, is because we have to make sure that where we see criminal conduct, we actually prosecute it. And the president's talked about this a lot in the past. I don't need to repeat it, but it's worth noting that so many times when we find people engaged in really, really bad conduct, you know, the local judge or the local grand jury tries to stop it. One of the cool things about what we're doing is we're trying to take some innovative steps to ensure that when we find criminal fraud, we can actually prosecute it all the way to the end.
Mr. President,
she wanted one question. She's over here, and you guys are over there. Where's your main camera? Is it this one? Which one is the main camera? Okay, good. Nice center, good. I thought it was that one. Go ahead.
Mr. President, remember with Daily Wire, not CNN. We just wanted to ask about DHS, still not funded, but we reported earlier today that 80% of the primary task force that focuses on investigating terrorism is working without pay. So should that impact
Terrible.
decisions?
The Democrats aren't paying. The Democrats, we have a deal. They just said, we're not going to pay. We're not going to do anything. And it's terrible. The Democrats are terrible. You know, it'd be nice to get along, but for years this has been going on, not just with me. For years it's been going on. Different ideology, but also different tactics. Here we are, we're fighting big battles with a very tough enemy and winning nicely. And we're not allowed to have security in our country. It's crazy. The Democrats don't want to pay. These are bad people. These are not people that love our country, I can tell you that. Very sick people. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Press.
Thanks for all the questions.
Thank you. Movie guys. Thank you.
Oh, they cut the feed before they cut the audio. Wow. I mean, hate him or like him, one of the things you have to realize is we're probably never going to see anything like this ever again. And I there was one comment that I saw. I don't think this woman is a troll, but I need to explain something. Susan posted this comment. Let me see if I can bring it up. Here it is. And she says, the president seems to be repeating himself quite a bit. We should pray that his mind be sharp as a tack. Why do you think he's repeating himself? See, before you think that he might be losing his faculties, you have to realize, why does he keep repeating himself? Well, he's only repeating himself to you because you've heard the message. And if you watched our shows, you've heard the message a number of times. But there are many people, because the media won't play it, who haven't heard the message. And so for them, he has to make sure he covers his points so that other people can also hear the message, because the media won't cover it. Unless you're watching a show like mine or somebody else's, they're not hearing it. All the different things he just talked about. You get the top level stuff, you might get a 30-second feed, but he keeps talking about it because at this point, he knows, especially as the marketing genius that he is, you got to get a point home 7 to 10 times. Look that up. How many times, you can just go ahead and Google it. How many times does somebody have to hear something before they accept it? And you'll find out, and that's why you see people run the same ad spot over and over, because it takes 7 to 10 times before you hear that message, before it sinks in. So all the different jingles and everything that you hear when you see a commercial, the reason why those commercials run nonstop is because not everybody is sitting in front of the television. Not everybody is sitting there watching it. That's why you're hearing it, and it sounds like is repeating it. Now, here's the best thing about it. Your own comment, he basically satisfies it. And let me tell you why. If you're worried about him repeating himself and being not as sharp as a tack, understand he has memorized these lines. So if he's on the airplane, if he's on the tarmac, if he's in the Oval Office, he knows, I got to hit these points. I got to hit it, and I know it. So he's remembering it. So it's not like he's, losing his faculties. That's something you can count on. The fact that the guy sits there and holds court for hours at a time, absolute hours at a time. He had 2 events today. Got me up early, had to jump over here and get ready for the first event. That first event seems like it was 2 days ago, but it was at 11 o'clock this morning, whatever time he came on. And he held court, and he said what he had to say, and he said he took questions as well. Then he came back at 3 o'clock, a little bit later. It came on, and he talked about this new task force that J.D. Vance is going to be leading up, along with the guy who heads up the FTC. And I bet you right now, you want to talk about how your mind doesn't understand or doesn't grasp things? Tell me what the name of the guy from the FTC is who's going to be working with JD Vance. And I bet you it's going to be a slow or a small amount of people who are going to be able to recall that guy's name, because he's not JD Vance. Then, we all know they're going to be going after fraud, and he hit on a bunch of different topics today that, while he was talking about the fraud, that they won't report on the news. They're not going to report on the news that if we get rid of all the fraud, we may be at a balanced budget, which means, drum roll, they already know how much fraud there is. A good lawyer never asks a question they don't know the answer to. How could he possibly say we could be a balanced budget if we get rid of all the fraud if you don't know what that number is? So as he's talking, what you have to learn, or not, it's up to you, to teach yourself is, yeah, I've heard it, but maybe he's telling you to go put it out and let other people know. This guy doesn't say anything, anytime, not understanding who he's talking to. When he picked up the B-2, the stealth bomber, I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, that is a comm communication. He's making a signal. He's talking to somebody not in that audience, someone else who's watching. Hey, look at this thing. It blows stuff up. Yeah, you know what? It comes in, you never even see it. Boom, you don't even hear it. You're picking up cinder blocks. He's talking to somebody. I think too many people sit back and they think, okay, I've heard this before, but you're not understanding why. Now you know why. You have to get the message across a number of times. If you notice, I just did that. I just did that myself. I could have said, hey, he does it because he wants to get the message across. All right, next story. And I said it a couple of times, couple different ways. So hopefully it sinks in. That's what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. All right, so we've been here 2 hours and 10 minutes already, so I don't want to go back through the gaggle on Air Force One. Let me check in with SB real quick. You got anything?
I do not at this time. I'm here ready to wrap it up. I know, no breaking news, but there will be more, I guarantee it.
You got no breaking news? Oh, brothers. We'll see you tomorrow then. All right, SB's been hanging in there. He does all the stuff on Twitter, tries to find all the news, and that should be scary. The fact that he's there and he's looking through the lines and trying to find something to bring you guys, and it's quiet. It's never quiet in Trump world. So if it's quiet, that should tell you, be ready tonight. We're going to be having dinner or something. All of a sudden, hey, did you see what happened? I don't know what got blown up now. Now, earlier, I had said to you guys, it's very interesting. I had shown you this article by Matt Van Swol, and it's getting a lot of people eyeballs looking at it. You guys may want to look him up. That's his name, Matt Van Swol, and he's talking about the right has a podcast problem and it might be costing us an election. And I want you guys to look at that, because more and more people are starting to, I'm so happy that now more and more people are rallying against the, I don't even know what we can call them, the Black Pillars. That's what the Black Pillar Brigade. People are starting to rally against this and going, something's wrong with these people. Something's really wrong with them. I saw this piece from Glenn Beck. Check this out. Same article.
Matt Van Swol wrote on X, we witnessed one of the greatest political comebacks of all time. We won the presidency. We won the Senate. We won the House. We won the demographics nobody thought were possible. We won in places nobody thought were winnable.
Now, real quick here. Matt Van Swol doesn't work for CNN, doesn't work for Fox, Newsmax, News Nation, CBS, AB, doesn't work for anybody. He's a small guy who was originally came on the map because he was talking about the hurricanes in North Carolina. And so now he's written an article where many people, including myself and now Glenn Beck as well, are looking at this and going, Yeah, you guys need to see this. So let's continue with that.
All. And then somehow the most influential voices on our side decided that the most important thing to do with that historic mandate was to tear each other apart. Right now, as you read this, the Democrats are doing exactly what they always do after they lose. They're not bitching or moaning at each other. They're not pointing fingers on podcasts, and they're definitely not busy demoralizing their base. They're organizing. You see all the paid protesters, right? You think they aren't good at organizing? Think again. On the other hand, our podcast crowd is in full-blown public meltdown that would make Real Housewife producers look like total bitches. 0 people in the conservative base have asked for this. Not one person. I can't thank you enough, Matt, for writing.
That's actually how I felt. Where I was like, oh, please, I didn't have to put the words together. I didn't have to write a monologue about it, and that's it. None of us wants this crap. Not a single sane person wants this stuff. There's a reason why the Black Pillar Brigade is who they are. Something has happened. Something has snapped. They're going to be backing other candidates in the midterms. They're not getting the right amount of clicks, meaning their money has gone down. They may have been banned by YouTube. There are all kinds of things happening right now where it ain't going well for them. It isn't going well for them at all. I mean, Alex Jones, I don't know how it can be true. Brianna Morello, who works with him, she's quitting, going to go do another project. And he said he can't even afford to pay his internet, which I don't know how that can be. And supposedly, once again, we're having a going out of business sale with InfoWars. I don't understand it. But we keep having the same people, and those are just 2 prominent names you know off the top of your head. There's so many other ones up about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly. What are you people doing? Money cannot be that important. I guess maybe it is. What is it? Maybe Glenn's got a different take.
Writing this. Not a single person, not any of us, have ever talked to in real life somebody who is sitting there going, you know what we really need to do right now is watch my favorite podcasters go to war with each other. Nobody's thinking that. They're thinking about the mortgage, their kids, their country. They want to win, and they want results. They want the people with the biggest platforms and the loudest voices to wake up every single morning with their guns drawn and all the guns to be pointed at exactly the same target. But instead, we're getting this crap. And every single person on the right is exhausted. This is obvious if you spent 5 minutes outside of a podcast studio talking to actual conservatives. You know this to be true. We on the right, the real people, are tired. But we're not tired of fighting. We're tired of watching the fight go in the wrong direction. We want the border secured. We want our grocery bill to come down. We want our kids to get a real education. We want Democrats out of power at every level, school board, state legislature, Congress, all of it. That's the assignment. That's always been the assignment.
But what changed? What has caused these people to say something? They've turned into the National Enquirer Network. A 2-headed baby seen walking down the street with riding an alligator. They're making stuff up. The sad part about it, it's sucking people in. There are people who actually consume this garbage. And I think to myself, you know it's garbage. Just like you knew the National Enquirer was garbage. You picked it up, at the checkout line in a grocery store because you're like, when I'm sitting on the toilet, I can read this garbage and laugh. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're trying to get enough of the men in black to read this crap that everybody knows it's a joke, but they can't not look. It's like an accident. They're rubbernecking. I hope that's what it is, because to me it seems like it's doing something worse to people, that it's causing people to believe some of this stuff. I don't know if you know, if you're not on X, You may not know it, but these same people were pushing the bull crap that Bibi Netanyahu is dead. I can't tell you. There was someone in our chat. Hey, Barry, have you heard the rumor that Bibi Netanyahu is dead? And I said to him, you said it yourself. Why are you talking about it? It's a rumor. And then when Bibi Netanyahu did make the video, the same damn people came out and said it's AI. He's got 16 fingers. And look at his coffee. His coffee's not spilling. You got way too much time watching the foam on the top of a cup of coffee to determine whether or not it's AI. Maybe that's because too much of what you're doing is AI. Maybe too much of what you're doing yourself is fake, so you think everybody is fake. And then, as I showed you at the very beginning of the show, Bibi came out and made another video. Here I am. I'm alive. The nuts are spreading all kinds of craziness. Erica Kirk used to work for Epstein. And there's people, oh yeah, look at this, spread this. Oh, let me share this. Why are you sharing it? The more you share it, the more they keep doing it. You know, any type of behavior, whether it's a baby, whether it's a puppy, if you enable that stuff, then they'll keep doing it. If the baby keeps crying and you keep running over, what's wrong? They're gonna keep crying. Hey, this worked. Yeah, they keep running to me when I cry. It's time to take some of these people and do like you would do a dog and rub their nose in poop. Because it's their own poop. Hey man, stop writing this crap. We don't want to see it.
That's what we care about most of all. But instead, what we have are grown-up adults with 8-figure audiences spending their airtime on personal beef that does absolutely nothing for a single voter anywhere. Every minute spent on intra-podcast drama is a minute not spending on helping flip a house seat.
Bingo. So that must tell you, that might be it. As Matt wrote, and as Glenn read what Matt wrote, the fact that they're spending their time on this instead of spending their time on what Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer, when there's plenty of stuff to say about it. There's so much stuff to talk about, you have to wonder why they're ignoring everything. The only thing I can tell you at this point is that these people are not on your side. They can't possibly be on your side. You may be on theirs. You may have said, you know what? Yeah, I think Erica Kirk was working for Epstein. Have at it. Hope you love it. Hope it works for you. I don't know how that matters in your life. Remember at the beginning of this show, I was telling you something flipped in 2019. The world we knew back then is no longer the world we know now. People have gone bat poop insane. And they're displaying it to other seemingly insane people, or some people they want to help get insane. I know the old thing, garbage in, garbage out. I remember when I first met Robin, and the two of us were, you're jostling for position, who knows what. And we were talking about, music and stuff. I've related this story before. And I met Robin in South Carolina. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I know she's going to love NASCAR and racing. And I'm pretty sure she met me in as I was running a club, she knows rock music is it. And then I find out she likes disco. And then she hated NASCAR. But you work through these things. I don't think we can work through this crap these people are doing right now. I think we have to avoid them. You know, as I've said, I think I've told you many times that the one thing, you like disco, I like this. You like this, I'm a Red Sox fan, you're a Yankee. I mean, everything was like that. You like baseball? Yeah. What are you? I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankees fan. I was like, oh my gosh, did somebody put the two of us together and said, let's really screw at these guys' heads? Go ahead, ask her a question. Oh no. You like hard rock? Yeah, I like disco. But the one question she asked me, which I fumbled because I was stupid, is she asked me, are you a Christian? And I said, no. I saw her face and like, yeah, I'm a Catholic. And I told her the answer. She looked at me, she goes, no, you're stupid. Like, oh, okay. And the rest of the story, yeah, Catholics are Christian. So anyway, there was a baseline. The baseline was, are you a Christian? Yes, we're both Christians. All right, we can work on this other crazy stuff. Well, I can help fix you. You can help fix me. No, there's no fixing. We had our base point. 32 years later, here we are. Don't know how we got here, but we're here. Maybe because we had that baseline. No, not maybe. It's because we had that baseline. So right now, I think you need to be asking some of these people the baseline question. Do you believe what I believe? And if they say no, then there's no reason to click on their shit anymore. I mean, not a single time.
Every episode built around attacking somebody on the same team is an episode that could have explained to a persuadable voter why they should never vote Democrat again. This opportunity cost is staggering, and nobody is willing just to say it. We are sick of it, and it's insanely dangerous. You know who doesn't do this crap? The Democratic Party. They're ruthless about one thing. When it's time to win, they fall in line. They swallow their pride. They campaign with people they can't stand, and they win. They're not confused about who the enemy is. Matt, you're right.
Yep, he's right. And it's funny, I've said that a few times to people, you know, Democrats stick together, and there may be someone in the chat right now who will say it. Well, Barry, that's because we have free thinking. Like, I don't care what kind of free thinker you are. Just like with Robin and I when we met, we had a base point. You can think about disco. You can think about the Yankees. Are you a Christian? Yeah, okay. Now we can talk about the other stuff. Are you MAGA? Are you for Donald Trump? Are you ready to do anything necessary legally to get Donald Trump elected? See, there's no free thinking there. You have to take a stand. You have to say, nope, here's that line. Here's that battery you put on your shoulder. That's the line. Yeah, it's funny. Erica Kirk worked with Epstein. Oh, that's pretty funny. Charlie got shot by a friend. Yeah, I understand. You're doing all this National Enquirer stuff. Hold on one second. Are you MAGA and are you supporting Donald Trump in America? Don't want to hear anything else. Just tell me that. You can't answer that, I can't rock with you. That's what you guys have to do with everybody at this point. Hey, I'm reading your stuff. You make some good points. I understand that you might be upset. Bottom line is this. Are you MAGA? And if they can't answer or won't answer or say no, then why the hell are you listening to them? I don't want somebody from another religion proselytizing to me. I can have lunch, I can have dinner, I can do business with somebody who thinks differently. I don't want to align with you. I can't do it. I have my standard. I have to look in the mirror. I have to look Robin in the face. And I'm done with these people. And if it means stepping and doing a segment every single day saying, are you clean today? Have you made your commitment? Because unless that's what we do, you know what's going to come. You know it's coming. And that's just how I feel right now is that I've gone to a very select list of people. Obviously, Glenn, somebody I listen to. But if I don't get that information from somebody, I'm done with it. Absolutely done with it. All right. But yeah, exactly. The real bottom line is: do you want communism or freedom in the United States? I don't know what they want. If you tell me I don't like what Trump has done, I think Trump is this or Trump is that, then the question is, then who are you for and what do you stand for? Period. Because as people here in Boca found out, you stay home, you stay fat in your air conditioner or your pool, and you don't get out there and vote, you're going to let the other guy win. If you divide the vote, remember I showed you here in Boca, the Republicans won by 30 or 40 points, but they split the vote because this guy felt this way and this lady felt that way. And because they couldn't come together with the majority of the votes, he just walked in. Just walked right in. I only got 30%. I'm the new mayor. What do you think's going to happen there? Which is maybe what they want. I mean, at least be honest. Hey, I don't want to vote for Trump. I hope the Democrats come back in charge. Okay, tell us. Then be honest. Be a big man. Be a big woman. Tell people what you really feel. You hate Trump. What's your next thing? Well, maybe we don't know who the next thing is because that next thing hasn't popped up because it's not 2028. But in the interim, I can't rock with you. Done. All right, let me just see if there's any super chats here. And if there are, I shall take those. But, you know, I feel I'm glad I'm seeing people step out at this point and say this. And say, we're done with this crap. And it's going to take more of us to be able to do that because there's a lot of people who will sell out anything for a click and a like and things of that nature. And it also tells me a lot of people don't understand how these networks work in terms of like YouTube and Rumble and stuff. They're always changing. They're always tweaking the algorithm. They're always trying to figure out a better way to do it. What's the better mousetrap? And yes, every once in a while, your views could drop. Don't freak out and panic. Yeah, your money may drop. That's okay. You should have something else to fall back on while you're waiting here. I can tell you based on calendars what months do well, what months don't do well, how you're going to do this, what the income is going to be like. You have forecasts, you know, like a restaurant. You know how the reservations are. And then you know where your slow times are. You make up for it. But damn. It's like being in a seafood restaurant and all of a sudden you go in there and they're serving liver. Why are you serving liver all of a sudden? Well, you know, people weren't eating the lobster. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, let me do this. And then I got to go home and have dinner myself. Chiosop, Iranian propaganda is bombarding us with fake news constantly. Had to educate many, even on Facebook, to give it 48 hours before believing any of it. And they must be bombarding some podcasters. John, I watched a show on you last night about Ezekiel, about a prophecy 2,600 years ago to say what's happening today was told back then. Very spiritual. Interesting. Jim Powell, thank you. And Jennifer, just got some silver locked in on Friday. Good for you. Jim, when I was in the Army, we would have loved to get some Chef Boyardee. I wonder what the MREs are made of. Chiosop, anti-Trummers mad when the fake news is debunked. Jim again, thanks to you guys. You bring me to tears for your love of our military. Salute. Luis, hey, Barry Robbins, SB, Fanfare family, MAGA Patriots family from Italy. I can tell you the MSM is not telling Americans the truth. I get angry seeing posts with fake news. Love you, Barry. I'm going to show you something from fake news in a second. I got to find it before we close. Barbara, thank you. Captain Danny, once again, the U.S. saves the world and gets spit on. Chi-Chi, hey, Barry, love you and what you do. Thank you very much for watching. Roberto, it's sad, Barry, that you taught me about prosperity and now people want to take it away from me. Yep, that's what they want. America, I worked the flight deck on board the USS Constitution in the 80s. We got surf turf for Christmas dinner at sea while Libnuts enjoyed their meals at home. Salute you for that service. Dave Rattan, he repeats because it's the only way to pound the message into the media skull. Exactly. A Avagio, what a fabulous ride this is. Thank you for your work. It's the place to be. Thank you for watching. John C. Black-pilled people continue to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Well said. And view but wire official. Yeah, check out Jasmine Crockett's bodyguard. Yeah, he's not with us anymore. Her old bodyguard. Wait a minute. SV just text me something. Hold on. Let me put my ears back in because he's still here. I didn't know he was still here. What you got, SV?
Oh, I just posted a link to you about Pete Hegseth. He posted a short video of one of our American heroes. It's nothing bad in it. Nothing that will get you in trouble. It's only about 15 seconds long. I sent it to you on X.
Yeah, I'm looking at. Let me see. Let me see if I can download this real quick.
Okay. Just a little something that will make people smile.
Yeah. So I'm looking. I'm sorry. I'm listening to this at the same time. Pete posted that on his profile. Wow.
I guess so, but I got it through Eric Doherty.
Okay. All right. Here, let's take a listen to it, and then I have one bit of news to cover.
Hey, I don't know who need to hear this. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people be talking shit about America. Hey, if you don't like America, go to another country, bitch. I love this country. I'll protect this bitch.
There's a couple dirty words there, but nonetheless, yes, you're absolutely right. That's what we need to hear. Let me show you this. 1 second here. I want to show you this, and then we'll end with this. Wait a second. I'm queuing it up. All right.
Really disturbing in the messaging around the war recently, and Eamon, I really want your thoughts on this in particular, is some of the language and the description of their opponent, sort of the way they seem to create this image of the Iranians and all of their sort of proxies or allies, the sort of imagery that they conjure up. And I think that it takes a certain amount of arrogance, and I'm also going to say it, a bit of racism.
It's racist to talk about the Iranians being savages. Now, I want you to look at something here before I rip this woman to shreds here for being completely obtuse. I want you. Oops. Whoa, what did I do there? I blew it up. 1 second. Let me find it again. Okay. Let me bring this up so you guys can see this. All right, so here we go.
Or allies, the sort of imagery that they conjure up.
Look at this woman, right? She's saying that, calling Iranians savages is bad. Understand, and I posted this on X earlier, understand what this woman is doing right here. She's talking out about her government. She's at work. She's on news. She's got makeup on. She's got her shoulders showing. She's got bare shoulders. She has obviously what is a tight-fitting shirt or blouse over her boobs. Her husband is not with her. Everything about her, she can't do over there. There is nothing just about that one image that would allow her to do that in Iran. But she's mad because Pete Hegseth called Iranians savages. Not understanding. And this is where the media and the people on the left are so obtuse. Everything I just mentioned, in case you don't understand, is not allowed in Iran. And President Trump talked about it. They were shooting women in the head for protesting against the government with snipers. But we're not supposed to call these people savages when everything she's doing, and her audience must just sit there in a complete stupor and not realize she's out of her frickin' mind. Let me show you one other example of that. And that example is right here. This is Martina Navratilova. We're going to go a little bit deeper with Martina. Martina says, we are just like North Korea. We're certainly heading that way. Well, those of you who don't know Martina Navratilova, she just did the same thing. She openly talked crap about her government. She's a woman. She's a alternative lifestyle woman. She probably wears makeup. Can't see her right here. But everything about her would get her thrown off a building. There's something that gets disconnected with the liberal mind because they don't realize the stuff that they're saying openly, they could never do in these countries. America affords you the opportunity that the women in these other countries don't have. Ashley is setting up an interview. We're trying to get the time put together because the timing of it, she's in Australia, we're in America, is like a 12-hour difference. But we're going to be talking to one of the reporters in Australia who was there when the whole Iranian soccer team thing happened, women's soccer team. And how some of the women claimed, what do you call it? Not, what's the word? They wanted to get away from the Iranians and what they had to go through. And then how some of them have basically said, no, we don't want it. We can't, we got to go home. They're going to kill our parents. They're going to kill our family. They can't claim asylum because they're terrified of what they're going to do to the people who still remain back home. Some of them took the asylum. Some of them said, yes, we're going to stay. But some of them, under dire needs, had to go back home. Otherwise, they were going to line their family up and kill them. And you get women like Martina Navratilova, and that woman on MSNBC, who you can look at right here, who don't have any qualm about understanding what really goes on in these countries. And Martina should. She escaped. I forget what, I think it's Russia. I'm not sure which country she escaped from, but she's allowed to live the life she lives because she had to get out. There's something wrong with leftists. There's something very, very wrong with them. When they look at a camera and openly lie and try to convince you that America is the bad guy when they're doing all this crap. It's absolutely nuts. All right, so I am going to, I do got to run one promo real quick here.
If you'd like to join our private group on X, go to fanfareshop.org/group and join 18,000 fellow patriots. It's a safe space for patriots as it's curated and moderated. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/group. One more thing, if you'd like to be a part of the show, submit a 60-second video by going to fanfareshop.org/submit video. Last, but certainly not least, if you'd like to request a free Bible, please go to fanfareshop.org/Bible. We have a long list, but we're getting them out as soon as we can. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/Bible. Thanks for being a part of the Fanfare family. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Alrighty, so the video submission thing is something that invites you to play some videos, and we can talk. I can show them and show everybody. I want to start pushing that again. That was pretty cool when people were doing videos. I think it only works for one side, desktop or mobile, not both, but would love to have you guys submit some videos and see the faces behind the chat. Don't be worried. We're not going to, we will post them, but it's not like we're going to No, we're going to broadcast you. So if you make a video, understand we're going to put the video out here. So the ladies put on their makeup if you want. We don't mind. Look at however you want. We just want to hear your comments. You get 60 seconds to record whatever message you want. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. It's already night, so there won't be a night show. I'm probably going to put up a video, a clipped video, but we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.